Mitchell Parker made his final start of the 2024 season and it actually looked pretty damn good. But more importantly, the Nationals have now gone 22 innings without scoring a run. Oh my God, what is happening?
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals for all your latest Nationals news and notes. Make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And while you're at it, look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcast, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your pods. Again, just search Locked On Nationals and hit that subscriber button. Later on in today's show, we have a preview of Game 2 of the Royals-Nats series, as this is two of the coldest offenses in all of baseball tonight. And I don't know if the Nationals will score. I would like to think they will, but still, there is a track record right now of 22 innings straight of not scoring a run. Oh my God, what is going on? We'll have that preview for you a little bit later on in today's show. In the second segment, the Nationals have come out with their minor league awards as the AAA season wrapped up this last Sunday. We'll discuss that in the second segment of today's show and who got what. I'll discuss that a little bit later on. But now we start off discussing Mitchell Parker, this Nationals offense, and as well as Mike Rizzo commenting this morning on the CJ Abrams situation. And we'll get into that later on. But this episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com, yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. So we get started with discussing the Nationals offense, and let's get into it because the Nationals have now not scored in 22 straight innings. And I don't know how to feel about this. Since CJ Abrams was sent down in AAA, the Nats offense has not been the same. And I'm not saying it's because of the lack of CJ Abrams, but if you go around the diamond and just kind of look around at all these different guys, Jose Tena hasn't really been hitting the same. James Wood has had his ups and downs. Dylan Cruz, we've discussed this plenty of times on the show. He's had his ups and downs as well. But last night's game was particularly frustrating watching this team. And I think it goes to show you the flaws in the lack of power that we just have as a whole. Dylan Cruz went 0 for 4, 3 Ks. James Wood went 1 for 3 with the walk, which is nice to see. Juan Yepez went 1 for 3 with the walk. Jose Tena 0 for 4. Your top 4 guys only combining for 2 hits, getting on base a total of 4 times against, by the way, not that great of a pitcher with Cole Ragans. I mean, 5 hits over the course of 10 innings played in a 0-0 ball game, losing in extra innings. It's just one of those frustrating losses that we have seen stack up time and time again over 2024. I think a big story of this offseason will be, do you add a starting pitcher or do you add a power bat? I think that is going to be a huge talk of this offseason. Because let's just kind of be honest here. Let's open it up. The Lerners aren't going to spend on both those things. They will not address both a great starting pitcher and as well as a great power bat. In fact, there's a better chance that they address any of those. None of them. But I think going into this offseason now, and as we've seen it down the stretch here, the Nationals have a huge hole offensively still. James Wood, he can do a lot. Dylan Cruz, he can do a lot as well. But one thing is for sure is that both of them combined will not fix this as we sit here today. But fortunately for the Nationals, one of the brighter stories of 2024 kind of came back to light yesterday. That is Mitchell Parker. 5 innings pitched, only 5 hits, 5 Ks, 2 walks, 0 earned runs, and he has finished the season with a 4.29 ERA to finish 2024. I discussed Mitchell Parker a few weeks ago, I believe at this point, about 2 weeks ago. And it's kind of one of those things where I'll go back and forth on all offseason long. Bless me, Jesus. As Mitchell Parker has gone on into the season, I'm not sure what to expect with him. I don't know what he will be down the line. Will he be a starter? Will he be a reliever? I don't know at this point. That is one of those things where you can kind of go back and forth on. Because I think the best case scenario for Parker is he's a 5th. But I do think we can rely on one thing. That Parker is a part of this future. He is going to be a part of this Nationals fabric for hopefully the next 6-7 years. Now, again, the big overwhelming question that we'll be getting into this offseason will be whether is he a starter or is he a reliever? I don't know at this point in time. That's something I'll have to come to a decision at some point once we see what the free agency market looks like, once we kind of hear rumors about what the Nationals will be addressing, what they will not be addressing, what they want to build on. I think these are all questions that you should be asking yourself as well. Is Parker a part of this future? I think that's a big, overwhelming question, but the talk around town over the last few days has been CJ Abrams, and Nationals president of baseball ops, Mike Rizzo, is on with the Sports Junkies on 106.7 The Fan today, and he was asked about CJ Abrams today. And again, if you aren't aware, I'll just remind you real quick, in a real brief way, but CJ Abrams was sent down after off-field things as he was at a casino until 8 a.m. on a 1 p.m. game day, and it was not a great look. The Nationals were warned by it, and then they optioned him to AAA. It was not performance-based. CJ Abrams has been struggling, but as of lately has actually really picked it up and has looked pretty solid here, especially a 4-hit night against the Cubs just last week. But Mike Rizzo discussed this, and these are some of the quotes that I thought were pretty interesting. When he was asked about the CJ Abrams situation as a whole, he said, quote, "It's an internal issue that we will keep within the family. We still have a great relationship. We felt like this was needed for him and the organization." That I can agree with. Mike Rizzo has always kind of run a tight ship, I think, to say the least. If you remember back in 2018, Sean Kelly, when he kind of had that meltdown, and reportedly the Nats kind of had a little shouting match with Sean Kelly after he was pulled out of a game. He kind of threw a tantrum there. The Nationals decided to DFA him. Similarly with Brandon Kinsler, the Nationals decided to part ways with him as well when he was kind of doing some bad stuff behind the scenes, I guess. And not necessarily like bad things overall, but he was ruffling some feathers within the organization. One thing about Mike Rizzo is he does not mess around with off-field antics. He does not mess around with any distraction whatsoever. And in his point of view here, this became a distraction. And even then, he did say this as well, which I thought was interesting. Quote, "It rose to not where we wanted to be with the Nats. We felt it was warranted," when asked about sending CJ Abrams down to AAA. They also don't have a specific time for a curfew. Team rules basically come down to Davey. He addressed that as well. I think the moral of the story here, kind of reading between the lines, Mike Rizzo was not really giving anything that we don't know. But it does sound as if this could be maybe kind of an ongoing thing. And this could have compiled up over time. I'm not saying CJ Abrams is going out there every away series, staying up at casinos until 8 a.m. But I do think that the way that the Nationals have handled this, and the way that they have publicly handled this as well, kind of indicates that this is not the first time that they have maybe talked to CJ about this. I'm not saying it's a problem by any means. I've already kind of gone into it. I think this time next year we'll be laughing about it because CJ Abrams, he's a smart, young, bright kid, leader of this team, captain of the team, in my opinion. And I don't think it's going to be an issue down the line. But I think the way that the Nationals have handled this, and as we've kind of gotten more details about it, really not more details, but as people have come out to address the situation, I think it's become more clear. This was not them just humiliating CJ. This was in the best interest of the team. This is in the best interest of Mike Rizzo. And I think at the end of the day, it's in the best interest of CJ Abrams as well to send him down. It was the correct decision. And while some people may think that it's petty to, well, he had no games down in AAA. There's only a week left in the season. But still, I think it sends a good message to the team. Your star player, your all-star player, who is bright, young, talented, all the good things under an umbrella that you want from a major league player. CJ Abrams is just that. I think they wanted to send a message to where it says, it doesn't matter who you are, and it doesn't matter how talented you are, you will have to follow the team rules. You will have to obey what we ask. Davey Martinez, Mike Rizzo as well, they run a pretty tight ship. You've seen it time and time again. They do not really put up with BS. And I think the Nationals, they wanted to make that message loud and clear, not just for CJ Abrams, but for the younger guys as well, who CJ has taken under his wing. Dylan Cruz, James Wood, other guys surrounding the organization as well. I think it's a good message, and I think Mike Rizzo addressing this the way that he did today is, number one, a smart move. I think he handled it perfectly well. I think he said all the right things. And also, it doesn't sound like they are concerned. I don't think we should be concerned about this as well. CJ, 23 years old, man. If you were a 23-year-old, I'm 24. I feel like I could put myself in his shoes pretty easily. If I had the money to throw around that he did, I'd probably have some fun. You probably would as well. It's easy to sit there and say, if I was making $750K a year and had millions in my bank account, I'd be doing what's right. You probably would be, but I don't know about you. I was not in that situation, so I can kind of understand what CJ is going through with this. At the end of the day, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it's just one of those things where they are sending a message that if the Nationals were in a postseason push right now, I don't think this message would have come across. I just think they would have continued to play him. But where we sit today, you're not competing for a postseason spot. You want to send a message going to next year that there's no funny business anymore. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Next, let's talk about some of the Nats Minor League Player of the Year awards for pitchers, defense, base running, and as well as your hitter of the year. We'll discuss that after we tell you about our friends over at Booking.com. This episode of Locked On Nationals is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com, yeah, and of course, you need to explore those U.S. cities that you always secretly wanted to learn more about with hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com. You might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival city during the postseason. Maybe you want to go up to New York and catch the Mets, or maybe you want to go to Atlanta, or even Baltimore right up the road here. You can check Booking.com's wide variety of choices across the U.S., and you can go incognito to all your baseball rival cities. And of course, maybe you want to go up to Baltimore, check out the Orioles, as they are going to be in the postseason this year, and they need to win, but maybe you're rooting against them. It does not matter. Booking.com can help you book a stay that's close to your home teams or rival stadium. And of course, the right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Booking.com. Yeah. Now let's tell you guys about some of our very good friends as well over at FanDuel. And of course, you might be an NFL fan. So if you are, listen right here. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, you live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when your first $5 bet hits. And of course, all you have to do is visit FanDuel.com, and maybe for Thursday Night Football between the Cowboys and the Giants, you think Dak Prescott and the Cowboys get back on track, you can do a little money line bet. And of course, an anytime touchdown with CeeDee Lamb, as he was cold this last weekend. I don't think that happens against this New York Giants team. So again, you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. That is guaranteed when you place your first $5 bets. Again, that is FanDuel.com. Check out America's #1 sportsbook. Download FanDuel today. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, the Nationals decided who were the minor league award winners for this year. It is highlighted by the Nationals Way Award, just kind of like the Nationals Team Award, like a team ambassador. Who did it the right way? Who did it the Nationals way? We'll get that out of the way here. That was Dalen Lyle as far as hitters go. And pitchers, it is Brad Lord. Dalen Lyle and Brad Lord both have had really good seasons overall. Dalen Lyle, I think, is kind of one of those slept-on prospects in the system. Aram Layton from Just Baseball Media was on with us just a few weeks ago. He really likes the way that Dalen Lyle plays, likes the metrics behind him. He's got some speed in there. He's got some good defensive ability and as well can hit the ball on offense. So Dalen Lyle is one of those guys where he seems like he's the odd guy out, but I also would not count him out by any stretch of the imagination. Brad Lord is one of those guys where everyone's got to root for him. A late round pick, very low expectations. Brad Lord has come in here and has put himself on the map within the Nationals organization. It was cool to see him dominate in multiple levels this year, from AA all the way up to AAA. And Brad Lord, in my opinion, probably should have been starting up in the bigs at this point in time. Unfortunately, he is not, but that's for a different story on a different day. The base runner of the year was Darren Baker. We now see up in the majors. Darren Baker was a stock up just a few days ago on our national stock report. You can check that out, segment 2 of Monday's podcast. Again, just 2 days ago. But Darren Baker, really bright athlete, son of Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker has been around in the game for decades on end at this point. And it's cool to see Darren Baker win an award because this guy is one of those guys where you feel as if he's like a 4A player a little bit. He's not going to be just your typical utility guy. Like, I don't know if he can be that down the line. I think that is his ceiling at best. But I don't know what his future really is within the Nationals because you have Nasim Nunez, who looks to be the part of that defensive utility guy that you can move around the diamond, and who's a really good defensive guy as well. Smart base runner, but we all know the question mark comes offensively for him. So that's really cool to see Darren Baker acknowledged as well. Now we get into the meat of these awards. The defensive player of the year is Elijah Green, the 2022 first-round pick, top 5 pick in that year's draft. Elijah Green, it is good to see him recognized for something because, again, we have all been hard on this kid. He was a top 5 pick. He has a very high ceiling. He finished the year very strong, by the way, in Fredericksburg. So I do expect him in High A Wilmington to start out 2025, but the defensive metrics on him are out of this world. He is a plus defender in center field. He's got a plus arm. He can cover all spaces and corners of the outfield. And Fredericksburg is kind of a weird track out there where there's a lot of weird corners and everything. It's not just your simple minor league park. They've kind of constructed that place a little bit weird. So to him, this man that outfield, the way that he did this year, I think was really impressive. So kudos to Elijah Green. Pitcher of the year was Travis Sikora. No surprises there. He was your breakout prospect of this year. Travis Sikora is just a legit guy that everyone should be aware of at this point in time. He had a 2.33 ERA in 20 starts this season, 85 innings pitched, 129 strikeouts to 27 walks. And catch this, only 2 home runs given up in 20 starts in your first full professional season. Travis Sikora should be a top 50 prospect. Hell, he could probably be a top 35 prospect at this point after what he did this season. I don't know why some rankings have him as low as they do, but Travis Sikora has proven one thing, and that one thing is that you should be excited about this kid's future. He has got all the talent in the world. He's got the command of a major league player. He's got the ability, just everything about him screams that he is going to be a stud top 10 prospect in baseball someday. You hope to God he can stay healthy because there's nothing to think that he won't stay healthy, by the way. He's been healthy his whole career. But Sakura is just one of those guys where the Nationals, they found a diamond in the rough here, and I think Sakura is going to prove to be just that. Your hitter of the year, no surprises here, is Dylan Cruz. I mean, there really aren't many other options at this point. James Wood, you could have said him as well, I guess, but Dylan Cruz, majority of his season was spent in AA and AAA, put up solid numbers overall, but Travis Sakura is really the one who headlined this, and that's the guy that I wanted to give really a lot of props to. But speaking of props, one of the former Nationals DHs got called up to the big league roster yet again. I'll tell you who that is, and of course, why it's a nice little moment for the Nationals, and we'll have that preview of Game 2 of this Royals-Nats series. But before we get into it, let me tell you guys about some of our very good friends over at Game Time. And guys, we've heard us talk about Game Time plenty of times right here on Locked On Nationals. And of course, Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. And Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And I can tell you guys about all the super deals that they've got. But of course, I want you to know that Game Time Picks curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and all-in pricing. There is toggling. This feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. And of course, maybe you're walking up to the Nationals game tonight. It is a rainy day as I look outside. It's going to be a cloudy, kind of chilly evening at Nationals Park. If you walk up, you're going to find some good flash zone deals on Game Time. And of course, you'll see the image view of your seat. Make sure there's no obstruction, nobody in your way, and you will want to see that. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I said that the Nationals called up one of a former fan favorites. The name is Stone Garrett. If you remember last year, he had a very bad fractured ankle at Yankee Stadium after attempting to make a very incredible play. And Stone Garrett, it was just a very unfortunate injury, as he was someone who kind of broke out onto the scene. The Nationals signed him the offseason prior to that. And it was one of those things where everyone loves Stone Garrett. He had a great home run celebration. It seemed as if he had a pretty bright future here in DC, as he was getting a lot more playing time and he was doing a lot with it defensively, but more importantly, offensively as well, with the power and hitting in the middle of the lineup. It just seemed as if that this guy really had it all together and it was feeling good. But unfortunately, he got his season cut short, had that really bad fractured ankle, tore a ligament as well in that ankle. And this season, he has been really struggling to get back on track, but he is back up in the majors. And he met with the media yesterday, as again, this guy's a former fan favorite. Everybody in the clubhouse loves Stone Garrett. And it's just one of those things where it's really cool to see him back up in the bigs. I do want to kind of congratulate him, as he's made his way back from injury, just a little bit over a year from recovering from that ankle surgery. And it's really cool to see Stone Garrett back in the picture here. I hope to God he can get an at bat here and maybe even a start, see what happens. But tonight's game, you've got your last Thursday of the season. He enters tonight with a 4.3 ERA in 18 starts and 83 and 2/3 innings pitched. He's got 103 strikeouts on the year and a 1.27 whip. I will take this any day from this rookie, because again, there have been a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but the eye test is what tells me that DJ Hers will be a part of this rotation moving forward. I think DJ Hers is kind of what we thought Mitchell Parker would be, that surprise guy. Once he came up, he made a pretty instant impact. And I remember seeing that, watching that Marlins game back earlier on in June. That's when it kind of came to fruition for me. Like, this guy is legit. This guy has got stuff that we have not seen. His changeup is filthy. His fastball, when he's locating it, it can be filthy as well. I think DJ Hers is one of those guys where this season we have learned a lot from him. He is a part of this rotation moving forward. I think he will be your 4th/5th starter at worst moving forward. That's how good I think DJ Hers is. And again, he's doing this all at 23 years old. And he just turned 23 years old back in January. So he's going to enter next season, age 24 season, making his major league debut from this year, being a mainstay in this rotation as well. DJ Hers is one of those guys where it feels good to go up against him. But we go up against Michael Lorenzen tonight. Around this time last year, Michael Lorenzen, right in August, I believe, threw that no-hitter against us when he was a Philadelphia Philly. Michael Lorenzen has our number. Simple as that. He has pitched against us, not all too many times, but dating back to last season when he was traded to the Phillies and he threw that no-hitter against us, he was never the same. And I think that became a real story for the Phillies down the line, and they certainly missed him, as I believe he was even left off the NLCS roster from last season with the Phillies. So Michael Lorenzen, he's got our number. But fortunately for the Nats, you've got nothing to lose. The Royals, they've got everything to lose. I don't know if the Nationals offense will be able to get it going tonight. It would be nice to see that. But again, you haven't scored in 22 straight innings. Michael Lorenzen, the last time you faced him, or one of the last times you faced him, he threw a no-hitter against you. So we'll see what the Nats can do. I don't know at this point. I don't know what to believe, but we'll see what the Nationals can do overall. I will catch you guys on the flip side. Enjoy tonight's game, and we'll break down that game on tomorrow's Locked On Nationals. I'll catch you on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.